How many decisions in your life are actually yours or were actually yours? How many were made because you were afraid of what people might say? The job you took, the relationship you stayed in, the opportunities you avoided, not because you didn't want them, but because you were afraid someone might not approve of them. And the uncomfortable truth is, if you live your life trying to be liked by everyone, you would eventually lose yourself. There is no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to OTMkast podcast. All right, people, welcome back to OTMkast podcast, where we dive into anything and everything that shapes our lives, from sports to lifestyle, from fashion to careers, and beyond. This is your one-stop destination for insightful conversations and engaging discussions. And today's conversations is one that at some point each and every one of us avoid, which is it is okay to be disliked. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people are not living authentically. The truth is they are living strategically choosing what they say, strategically choosing what not to say, strategically choosing what version of themselves that they should hide or present. And why? Because approval has become a currency that we exchange, more like the social media likes, the validation from friends, the approval from family, the acceptance from society. But here is the problem exactly. When approval becomes your compass, you stop navigating your life. You start what? You start performing it. And here is one thing, that the moment you try to please everyone, you stop being someone. Let me tell you something powerful. I mean, every person in history who has ever changed the world was disliked by someone, by a lot of people. I mean, people like Socrates, who was disliked because he challenged the thinking of the society so much that they sentenced him to death. I mean, Galileo was disliked when he said the earth moves around the sun. People thought he was dangerous. Martin Luther King Jr. was disliked, but today people quote him every single day. Back then, many people wanted him to, in fact, be silenced. And that leads to an important truth. The more authentic you become, the more controversial you might appear. It is simply not possible to be extraordinary and universally liked at the same time. It is not possible. People pleasing sounds harmless, but it slowly becomes a trap. I mean, let's look at a real scenario. Someone invites you somewhere and you don't want to go, or you don't feel like going, or you made a promise to visit someone, but at the end of the day, something changed. You just don't want to go anymore. But because you said yes, because you don't want them to feel bad, because you feel like helping them constantly, even when you're exhausted, you stay quiet. When something even bothers you, you remain silent. Eventually, something strange happens, you tend to go. You attend that meeting, you visit the people. I mean, people love the version of you that isn't even real, because that is not your real self. And now you feel trapped, because if you start acting like your real self, people's favorite word becomes you're proud, you've changed. And the version of you that pleases everyone is usually the version that betrays yourself. People would love it, but you're betraying yourself down the line. At the end of the day, it costs you some friendships. It might, at the end of the day, cost you opportunities. It might, at the end of the day, cost you approval. But here is the flip. Not being authentic will cost you your identity. Down the line, you would look back at yourself and you might even hate yourself. One of my favorite Steve Jobs quotes is, "Your time is very limited. So don't waste it living someone else's life, because no one writes your story. You do. And if you let people write your story, then you become their story. That line alone, the Steve Jobs alone should make you pause. How many people are living lives that were designed by someone else? Parents, the expectations, the traditions, the society, and of course the culture. If everyone likes you, you're probably not being honest enough. You're probably faking it. Accepting being disliked doesn't mean becoming rude or disrespectful. It doesn't mean you're disrespecting everyone because you want to be real. No, it simply means that you're no longer negotiating your identity. You're no longer negotiating to ask the real questions. You stop asking questions like, what will people think? And you start asking questions like, is this true to who I am? You want to change careers. People say, oh, that is risky. You want to start a business and people say that's unrealistic. You want to express your opinion. Some people might not even listen, or people will say that's controversial. And suddenly you're faced with a choice: comfort or authenticity. Because growth begins the moment approval stops controlling you. Some people will dislike you simply because you are becoming the version of yourself they were afraid of what you would become. Your growth makes them uncomfortable. Your confidence reminds them of their doubts. Your identity or your independence reminds them of their dependence. And instead of confronting themselves, they criticize you. But that criticism is often what? Is not often about you. It's about them. Sometimes people dislike you not because you're wrong, but because you're free, because you choose to be honest. Let me leave you with this thought. At some point in your life, you will be judged. You will be misunderstood. You will be criticized. The question is not if it will happen, but when. And when it happens, will you still be yourself when the scenarios come in play? Because at the end of the day, being liked by everyone is not success, but being true to yourself is. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you become comfortable with being disliked is the moment you finally become free. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this resonates with you, and I hope it resonates with someone you might know. And if it does, share this with them. Think about it, that do I need to be liked by everyone? Am I being real because I want to get people's approval? If this question sounds very authentic and makes you think deeply, then there is something to still do about it. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this episode, and always subscribing, always supporting the channel, and continue to subscribe with your comments, your like buttons. Always share your thoughts, and at the end of the day, be true to yourself, because why? No one writes your story, you do. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you're listening from. Bye.